Imagine a world where there is no breast cancer, and nobody suffers from sickle cell anemia, and cystic fibrosis is a thing of the past. At this very moment in time, geneticists are experimenting on human cells, learning how to turn these genes off. Their vision of a genetic disease-free world is getting closer. Sounds wonderful, doesn't it? But we need to understand the possible repercussions of genetic modification on human beings. Good morning. My name is Alice Mayer, and today I would like to talk to you about the wonder and the danger of creating a designer baby. What is a designer baby? The media often use this blanket term when referring to babies whose attributes have been pre-selected genetically. This may sound like science fiction, but it's not far from reality. Pre-implantation genetic diagnosis, or PGD, is used to reject embryos with genetic disorders, and pre-implantation genetic screening is used for gender selection. In vitro fertilisation, the healthiest embryo is chosen, but this hasn't been termed as designer because the parents are making a specific choice in the baby that they are having. IVF could be described as the first step in creating a designer baby. In order to create a designer baby, the healthiest embryos are chosen, and they are developed in petri dishes in a lab. They are screened for both genetic diseases and desired gender, and once the desired embryo is chosen, it is implanted into the mother with the hope that after 9 months, 2 weeks and 3 days, a healthy baby will be born. A company called the Fertility Institute already offer the choice of gender and screening for genetic diseases, but this is only the beginning. The Fertility Institute have stated that they will soon be offering their customers the choice of eye colour, hair colour and complexion. But where would they go from here? In this constantly developing world of medicine, could people choose their child's looks, intellect, agility, sleeping patterns? Maybe even their personality. Adam Nash was the world's first known designer baby, born in 2000 in the USA. Adam's embryo was especially chosen to possess the right qualities to save his dying sister's life. His sister suffered from Fanconi's anemia. When Adam was born, the blood from his umbilical cord was transferred to his sister, which doubled her chances of survival. Adam was the 15th 8-cell embryo selected. That means that 14 embryos were discarded. Are the ethics different when choosing a baby with non-life-threatening diseases? Thousands of viable embryos could be discarded in the pursuit of a perfect designer baby. Some people believe that life begins at conception. They argue that this disposal of embryos is akin to murder. The main justification for creating a designer baby is that the parents have the right to choose. It's their choice whether they want to or can afford to look after a child with a disability. But what happens if this genetically healthy child turns sick? What will they do? Just throw it away like they did to the rest of their viable embryos? Shouldn't they love their child that they have conceived despite it having a disability, regardless of sex, eye colour, hair colour or complexion? The cost of a designer baby is another matter in itself. I don't think designer babies will be offered on the NHS. The fact is that we could create a genetic super race for the rich. Is it fair that the rich will be advantaged in every way? Consider the arguments for and against designer babies. Should parents be able to discard possible human lives just to give themselves and the chosen child a better life? Surely they have the right to choose if the science is available. Should only the rich have the choice? The rich have always had more choices. Is it ethical to create a donor child to save a sibling's life? I'm sure every parent of a sick child would create a life to save a life. Should geneticists be able to create the human ideal Isn't it just eugenics? Each and every development in the medical industry is just another step towards eliminating human disease. Something as simple as taking folic acid during pregnancy has reduced the incidence of spina bifida by 70%. Are designer babies just the next step in eliminating human disease? Or is it a step too far? Thank you for listening to my talk. I would love to hear your opinions on my topic. I'll be performing You Will Be Hearing From Us Shortly, written by Yue Fanthorpe. Yue Fanthorpe is a highly accoladed female British poet, and in this poem she uses a lot of enjambments and a lot of repetition. This poem is about an interview, but it's from the point of view of the pompous interviewer, and the interesting thing about this poem is that you never actually get a full description of the candidate that she's interviewing. So it's interesting because the audience gets to imagine what this weird character is in front of this pompous lady. You feel adequate to the demands of this position. What qualities do you personally feel you have to offer? Let us consider your application form. Your qualifications, though impressive, are not, we must admit, precisely what we had in mind. Would you care to defend their relevance? Indeed. Now, your age. Perhaps you feel able to make your own comment about that too. We ourselves are conscious of the need for a candidate with precisely the right degree of immaturity. So glad we agree. And now, a delicate matter, your looks. You do appreciate this work involves contact with the actual public. Might they, perhaps, find your appearance disturbing? Quite so. And your accent, that is the way you have always spoken, is it? What of your education? Were you educated? We mean, of course. Where were you educated? And how much of a handicap is that to you, would you say? Married? Children? We see the usual dubious desire to perpetuate what had better not have happened at all. We do not ask what domestic disasters shimmer behind that vaguely unsuitable address. And you were born? Yes, pity. So glad we agree. Hi, my name's Charlie and I'm 23 years old. And my brother Tom is severely disabled. After school, I went and worked in an office, but I persevered to get my A-levels in night school. I managed to get into university. I wanted to get into university to please my dad and to make up for Tom. He was so disappointed that his only son physically couldn't go to university. I've just argued with my mum. I just hate the way she looks after Tom, just putting him in the same place every day, the same room, and just keeping him nice.
Do you feel your home's the right place for Tom?
I think it's the right place for him to grow up, but I think he needs to go out of the house, go to the beach, go to the pub sometime, I don't know. He just needs to see things other than his boring old room with flowers on the wallpaper. He needs to live. He's a real person. Hello?
Who's Tom's main carer?
Well, Winnie, my mum, she looks after him quite a lot, but my dad also helps and changes his bag. When I'm home, I always try and help, but I always try and treat him as a real person. He is a real person, obviously. They just treat him like a dog. They say that dogs show more affection than Tom does.
Have your parents ever considered sort of like a respite camp?
They always get offered. They always get offered to just go on a holiday for a week or something. They always turn it down. They don't want to. They don't want to see how Tom's looked after. Stephen said he saw bruises on Tom's wrist the other day. I don't believe it. Matthew.
Who's Stephen?
Stephen is one of the carers. He comes every once in a while. Loads of people come, but none of them really stay. They don't really know how to react with Tom. But Stephen's different. He thinks that Tom is a genius or something, trapped into a disabled body. But I just think he's a real guy. Hello.
What's this about bruises? Who do you think's given him these bruises? Was it himself?
I think it's my dad. Tom.
Is it expensive for your parents to hire your parents to come over?
No, I don't really know how much they pay. They always seem okay. Not really any financial troubles, but they cost a little bit. But Stephen, he's coming out of his own will, which is different. Emily.
What's your dad's personality like? Can he be quite aggressive?
Usually he's very caring, and he's pleased that I got away from I'm going to university, and he's pleased all about that, but he's quite resentful, and I think he wants to get away from Tom, just once, but he never allows anyone to do that, and that makes him angry. Hello.
Is he jealous of you because you're in university enjoying yourself and he's being a carer and he's envious?
He gave up his job a few years ago to just look after Tom, so that restricted him. He was unable to work anymore because he needed to look after Tom because he couldn't look after himself.
Have there been any other incidents that have led you to believe that your father is the one that's hurting Tom?
Well, sometimes he shouts at him. Sometimes he holds him and shakes him and tells him he's stupid, but I know he's not. And I don't know. It's Stephen who said I just can't see him doing that. I don't understand why. Matthew.
What type of disability does Tom have?
Well, he can't move properly and he can't speak, show emotion. He has to stay in bed and he has to have his urine bag changed. He's unable to move and he's unable to speak.
Final question.
Emily.
What do you think should happen to make the situation better?
I think he should live with me. I think he should come to university every once in a while and see how normal people live and not be trapped in his cage of a room like a dog.
Thank you, Alice.